When you start to write your own chord progressions, a really worthwhile thing to be aware of is the role of the dominant and subdominant chords within the key. And if that sounds a little bit puffed up and unnecessarily technical, it isn't really. So please stick around and I will explain. Now, this video is intended as a bit of a follow-on from my previous video on chord progressions. If you haven't seen that video yet, I mean, I guess I sort of forgive you, but please do watch it, mainly so I can have some more watch time, but also so that we're all on the same page in terms of the theory of this stuff. So in the first video, I talked about chords built on the 1st and 6th degrees of the scale, which gave us a tonic chord, in this case C, and a relative minor, in this case A minor. But we're going to be talking about 2 extra chords today, the first of which is going to be built on the 4th degree of the scale. So in the case of C, that's going to be an F note. And the notes involved are going to be F, A, and C, which gives us an F major chord. This is what's known as the subdominant, chord 4 in the key. The other chord we're going to be talking about is built on the 5th degree of the scale. So again, in the case of C, that's going to be a G. And our triad here is going to be G, B, and D. And this is a G major chord. And this is what's known as the dominant, chord 5 in the key. So we have 3 chords we're going to be playing with now. So we've entered the realm of jazz, at least in Lou Reed's definition. So that's a C major, an F major, and a G major. Now, if you've ever listened to anything from the entirety of the Western musical canon, you're probably already very familiar with the sound of these 3 chords. In fact, this little handful of chords, 1, 4, and 5, is often referred to as the 3-chord trick, because you hear these 3 chords in various different orders make up an awful lot of different songs. It's, in principle at least, pretty easy to write a song with them. And part of the reason for that is the way they give a very complete musical journey, if you like. When we establish our tonic, the ear will perceive that as home base. That's where we're most at rest. And the other chords we introduce into the sequence will have a different kind of effect. Now, when we move to the subdominant, the 4 chord, we get a sense of having journeyed away from the tonic. And then when we go to the dominant, the 5, there's a strong sense of wanting to return to the tonic. The other thing that's worth pointing out about these 3 chords is that between them, C, F, and G, we contain all the notes of the C major scale. The C chord has C, E, and G in it. The F chord has F, A, and C in it. And the G chord has G, B, and D in it. So we're giving a very complete sense of the tonality. And we can see this being played out in various different styles, very notably in a 12-bar blues. So a bit of a museum piece in terms of a song maybe, but hopefully you get a sense there of that real complete journey. Sorry, I'm using that word again. I know it's been devalued by reality TV people, but you know what I mean. There's a very complete musical story being told there as we move through the chords. And crucially, it's not just for old blues and rock and roll that this kind of thing is used. Songs as varied as Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival, Stir It Up by Bob Marley, and Is This It by The Strokes, all are made up entirely of chords 1, 4 and 5. So we'll have a little bit of a play around and see what other kind of styles we can come up with. So even something as seemingly basic as just climbing up through the chords, going from 1 to 4 to 5 and then back to 1 can be surprisingly effective when you add a little bit of a texture and a little bit of a groove. Something like this maybe. Is just climbing up through C to F to G. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's the dominant chord, the 5 chord, that really carries a very strong sense of tension that leads us back to the tonic chord. So that's where we're going to get our strongest sense of resolve, when we come back to 1 via the 5 chord, as we saw in those last 2 examples. But that's not to say we can't resolve back to the 1 chord from the subdominant, from the 4. You can probably hear straight away it's not quite as powerful a resolution, but that can actually work in our favour in certain styles. It has a little bit more of an enigmatic, slightly tougher edge to it. So if we take an example like this, you can hear we're going from the C, then straight to the G, then down to F, and then back to C. Like so. So it has a little bit more of a garagey, kind of punky sort of a feel to it. And also worth highlighting is the fact that the almost childlike simplicity of this kind of chord sequence has always seemed to appeal to indie bands, especially when they want to do something a little bit more mellow sounding. Maybe something a little bit like this. Where we're going C to F, back to C, and then to G, and then bring it back to C. So there we go, a few ideas with the 3-chord trick. Let me know how you get on, if you come up with anything that you like the sound of. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Really, really appreciate it as always. And I will see you with something else very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.